This week we got all sorts of different things to do. I hope you enjoy it.
I'm going to use the plastic glue on these because it seems like the other glue takes quite a long time to dry. So the plastic glue dries much quicker. So we glue these two bits together first. So put them on each other, spread the glue on both sides, and then give it a couple of minutes to dry before we then attach it together. You see, once it starts drying, it gets stringy, can you see? So that's how you know the glue is starting to dry. A bit of glue on these edges, and then some glue on the bottom here. Okay, that's that bit done. Now I can start to think about what I'm doing above this particular, this hole here. So we're going to be putting some plaster cloth on this section over here. I've covered up the track and just going inside the tunnel to keep the plaster off the track in there, so I can pull that off later. But yeah, we're going to cut some plaster cloth to size, put it on there, and hopefully everything all fits in okay. Well, I've got a new rock mould for Christmas, so I am just mixing up some hydrocal, and then we will pour in the rock mould, and we'll get lots of little rocks that we can start putting in different places as well. Now we'll let that set for 40 minutes and then we'll take them out. We're going to glue this top section on now. So I've given this a clean out inside, and we will now glue on the top, and then we are done with this side of the hill as well. So I'm using the foam glue, which is just much quicker. So we've glued this top on now, and I'm going to leave that until tomorrow morning, so that will be plenty dry by then. It probably only needs a couple of hours to dry, but I'm finished for the night pretty much, so I'm going to just leave that overnight. Well, I want to get on with ballasting this track, so I think I'm going to glue down this station platform. So I've cut away some of the plaster because it was a bit wobbly with the platform. So I'm going to get my PVA, glue it all down, and hopefully then we can then ballast this section of the track. So I've pulled all the rocks out of the mould, so I'm going to let these dry overnight, and we will have a pile of rocks that we can paint another day. So I've covered up this area just to protect it, so I'm going to start putting the plaster cloth on these sections here, and you'll see over this side as well, same thing. I've just put some tissue down to protect it, just so we can put that plaster cloth on over there. I'm going to put a sort of base coat on the plaster cloth that I put on the hill. So I'm going to use burnt umber, a bit of white just to lighten it up, and a little bit of yellow just to give it a bit of colour. So we've got our plaster cloth on this side, as you can see, all the way around. And then around the other side, I just started putting a little bit of paint on that other side as well. So you can see we're all plastered up, ready for a bit of painting.
This side won't really be seen, but I have put a little bit of plaster on this piece of wood down here just to tidy it up from, just because I know it's there. And also I accidentally pulled up this piece of track, so I'm going to have to repair that next week. Well, we're outside in the freezing cold garage, so I've got the fan heater on in the background, so sorry for the noise. I just received a box, so I'm going to be opening that box up to see what we got. We haven't opened anything for a while, so it's interesting to see what we got. So I bought some paper. I bought some plastic filling things. Oh, here we go. So we have some coarse turf, Woodland Scenics. We also have some blended turf for Woodland Scenics as well. Then we have some fine turf, which is earth colour. And the last thing we have is fine turf, weeds colour. So these, I'm actually going to use these to make some trees. So this is not for grass, this is to make trees. So we will get on to making trees another moment. But we've got our ingredients that we now need to make the trees, so that's good. Well, we're going to glue our other platform down so we can work on the area behind that as well. So I've got my PVA glue out. I've drawn a line on the board where the platform's going, so I can put the glue around and then we'll stick the platform down. So we're going to attach this piece of track over the bridge, so then we'll have our loop up and running. So I'm going to do that now, squeeze it all in, and then we can ballast this section as well. Well, we've joined up the track on the bridge, and having joined all of the last pieces of track, the amazing thing is we have one fish plate left. I managed to damage a few others while I was trying to put those ones on. So literally I have one rail joiner, one fish plate left from that whole box that I had. Just gluing a bit of that track in place. So once that's glued and dried, then we can give it a test run, make sure everything works. Well, it's Saturday night in the Reed household and we are having fun making some trees. So we're cutting coconut fibre mats into little shapes, you can see there. And we will stick them on little balsa wood sticks so that you end up with something like that. Then we spray it brown, then we put some green scenic cover on it, and you end up with some little trees. So we've got a few more trees over on the fire, drying out. So on the next stages. So we're working our way through building a whole forest or a small forest of trees. Well, after about an hour and a half or so, it's not too bad. We have made 14 trees. Obviously, we're going to have to cut down the trunks on some of them because they're a bit long. But yeah, we're very pleased with the results and we've had fun, Sylvia and I, making them. Making some armatures for some more trees. So we're just trying a slightly different technique with some wire. So we paint PVA all over the twisted wire frame. Then we sprinkle sand over the glue. We do this 2 or 3 times if it's needed. Then we let our little trees dry until all the glue is dried, and then we can paint them. So we cover our armature with glue, and now I'm putting some clump foliage on the armature, on all the little branches. Can you see? It's a bit of a slow process because some of it falls off. So you wait for some to dry and then you put some more on. So, but we're getting there, we'll make some nice trees. So the finished article, we have a tree. You can see you've got sort of some different branches that are visible and some clump foliage on there. Can you see down the bottom as well? I've painted the roots a little bit darker, and we put some green on there as well to make it look like moss growing up the tree. So this is obviously got to be planted on the layout, but I'm very happy with the result. This is another type of tree, so we did our pine trees, we've got these trees, so we're going to look at making some more different types of trees as well. We've bought a few more supplies as well. You can see these here. These are artificial leaves, so we can use a different technique to make some trees with these. This is about £2 from Amazon, so not terribly expensive, so you can spend your pocket money on this, make your own trees and then sprinkle some leaves on them. We also bought some polyfiber. This is a little bit more expensive, but we're going to use this also to make some trees as well. Well, we were talking about the fact that we'd finished joining all the track together, and you were probably shouting at the screen, no, what about the bridge? So of course I've forgotten about the bridge. So I've got my kit, so I need to build the bridge kit. I'm going to go and paint it now, and then we'll be able to install the bridge and connect those last pieces of track. I may do some scenery underneath there before I put the bridge down, maybe put down a bit of grass or something, just because it's a bit easier to do it then before we put the bridge on. But that's probably the next thing that I really need to do, just to finish that track off. And then I can finish ballasting this section as well. Well, the other week we were talking about finding lichen in the forest. If you remember, it grows on the trees. So Sylvia found this piece of lichen on the floor by a tree. So it actually looks like a tree. So if I just give it a little bit of a clean up, maybe we can put a little bit more green highlights on it. But then we can probably plant that in the layout as a tree. So that's quite funny. But you see, it looks quite good already. And free of charge as well, which is even better for those of us without much pocket money. We're going to build our bridge. So I've got the pieces for the bridge. So I'm going to build it before I paint it. I've got my fast set glue, and I've got all my paints ready to paint, my paintbrush and other things. But yeah, first I'm going to use the fast set glue to put the bridge together. I also need a square edge, so I'm going to use this ruler just so when I glue the side of the bridge, I make sure that I get that square against the surface. So that ruler is going to work for me. So we'll start with the glue, and we'll just glue the bridge together piece by piece. So just make sure I know what I'm doing before I glue things finally together. So that piece is going to go in there, and then I believe that piece will go over the top once I've glued everything on. So yeah, that looks about right. Okay, all right, fine. So I'm going to start gluing it all together, and we'll see how we get on. So also we need to be careful not to glue it to the cardboard. That's why I did it on cardboard. So now I have managed to glue this on. Let me try and get it off. I'm going to give that a few minutes to dry, and then I'm going to glue the outside pieces on as well. So I'll just give those before I start handling it, give it a minute. Normally the fast set glue can dry between 10 and 45 seconds according to this. But yeah, I've already seen that it does seem to take a little bit longer to dry. But yeah, it will dry much quicker than the PVA glue. Another good tip is to apply the glue onto the bridge, because then it's easier to pick this up and position it in place, because I was getting glue over my fingers. So we learn as we go along. When you're gluing things, sometimes it's easier to hold it with maybe like the end of a paintbrush or something else. So then you don't need to get your fingers in there and maybe get glue on your fingers. So it's a bit easier to do. Okay, so that bridge is now glued together. I'll leave it for a few more minutes just so that I can handle it when I'm painting, but then we'll start painting it. We'll carry on building our bridge next time. Bye.
8:30 p.m. Weekdays and Sundays. The Down Coastal Special League.